Hey everyone, quick little announcement here from Fishing the DMV. Our Weekend Warrior Club membership on Patreon is nearly full. There are only 11 membership spots still available. Once these spots are gone, they're gone, and I'll be closing the club to any new members until 2026. At that point, you can try to join again, but it'll be at a higher rate. So get your rates locked in now, and you'll gain access to our 5 fishing tournaments each year for Patreon members only, 5% off your orders to Jigs Bait and Tackle, 10% off your order to Tiger Crankbaits, 10% off your orders to Catoctin Creek Rods. You'll gain access to our private Facebook group community, loads of members only content, and of course, ad-free, commercial-free episodes of the show. You get all this for $6 a month, which is less than a pack of Cincos or a jackhammer chatterbait. Lock in these rates now because in 2026, I'm going to be increasing the rate to new members. And again, I'll give you throw in an extra one here. I'll give you 8% off if you buy the membership for the year. So that'll be $66 for all of this value. There are only a few spots left, so hurry up and check out the link in the episode description. You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jigs Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Fishing the DMV. I'm your host, Thomas Ahrens. And today we're heading back into the world of crappie fishing. We started the year off great with Jake talking about, is there a state citation, a state record, if you will, in Virginia? And I'm here with two guys that just smoked them at the Bobcat Trail Event. Jack and Tripp, thank you so much for coming on. Same time last year, same winners.
Same time last year. Same time last year, just different trail, but yeah.
So we were talking a little bit before we got started here. For people that don't know, hype up the Bobcat Trail a little bit. Like, where is it? When does it start? And just talk a little bit about it.
Sure.
It's on Bugs Island or Kerr Reservoir, depending on where you are, is depending on what you call it. Normally, Carolina, they call it Kerr Reservoir. Virginia, they call it Bugs Island. It starts in October, and it's a point series that runs all the way through March. And then they have a 2-day classic in April. You get some of the best anglers out of Virginia and North Carolina that compete in that.
And then, so being the fourth one of the year, is that normal for it to be, I guess, a fall through the winter type of series? Because usually in the bass world, for people that are listening that don't know about crappie fishing, it usually kind of starts early spring and then wraps through till the fall.
It's better fishing in the winter.
Definitely better fishing.
I can agree with that. Is the water conditions more stable at Kerr that time of year?
No. I mean, it'll fluctuate. Temperature will fluctuate upwards of 5 to 8 degrees in a day.
Wow.
But we've
seen a lot of it changes 4 degrees or so within 200 yards.
Yeah, but a lot of it down on Kerr is they raise and lower their water level depending on the water coming out of Smith Mountain down to Kerr, and then the water from Kerr going into Gaston. So raising and lowering the water level, it makes a big difference on where you can get to and what you can get to.
When we talk about crappie fishing on Bugs Island, aka Kerr Lake, how much of it is? You look at a place like Chesdon, Lake Anna, let's say the James River, because you guys are probably going to be going there this year. Completely different type of fishing. Are the crappie more of a suspended nomadic type that you happen upon at Kerr compared to other places?
They're basically the same, especially this time of year. They're not really schooled up. Most people think crappie and they think, docks and schools above a structure or something like that. But this time of year, if you're in the James, they're roaming. The big fish are roaming. Lake Anna, the big fish are roaming. Pretty much everywhere the big fish are roaming this time of year. Going February with the water temperatures, temperature that we've had recently because of all the cold spells, the water temperature is a little lower this year than it was last year. So I just kind of try to think back of what we were doing last year at this time and just work off of that and start off that. So,
do the colder temperatures help or hurt it?
It's hard to say. I think the warmer temperatures, I guess it depends on the day, really. Some days they just don't want to bite, and some days they do. The water temperature mostly predicts kind of where they're going to be in their stage of getting ready to spawn, pre-spawn, post-spawn. The water temperature varies that way, but right now, I mean, I think most of them are just suspended and work good. Water temperature really doesn't matter too much, I don't think. So I don't know what Trip might think different, but
I don't. It's just the warmer the water starts to get, the further up in the creeks and stuff they're going to start to push. So you just kind of have to, look at it, and just figure out where in the creek or where in the channel they are at that water temperature and at what depth. I think depth is more important right now than water temperature.
Interesting. Because I know a lot of bass guys were curious about how, I mean, this is one of those coldest winters ever that we've been dealing with lately where, like the Susquehanna River was frozen, which is insane. So, but it sounds like it hasn't really hurt the crappie fishing, but I mean, I guess they're more of a cold water species too, which kind of makes sense as well. When you were prepping for this event, I mean, did you have any preconceived notions going into it?
Not really. We kind of knew about where we wanted to fish. Pre-fishing the day before, we pre-fished, I think 3 or 4 different spots. And basically, when some people tell us that we shouldn't catch as many as we do, but we catch a few of them and kind of put together a running average of what we caught in this area. And then we'll erase the scales, go up to the next area, put together another little running average, and then go to the next spot, put together a little bit more of a running average. And we'll see which one we averaged out better. And this weekend, or this past weekend, when we went pre-fishing on Friday, we checked a couple spots, and we found a spot where our running average was at the time like 1.5, I think, maybe, Trip.
Yeah, 1.5, 1.6, something like that.
So we decided Friday night, that's where we're going to start, and just hopefully we can find a few bigger ones. So
might I add, heading down there Friday morning, we knew that Kerr was up, but we didn't realize that most of the boat ramps were closed. Bluestone, the water was up in the parking lot. Rudd's, it was in the parking lot. Grassy Creek was open. Occoneechee State Park was open. And I think Ivy Hill and Nutbush were open. And then there was one more way up that was open that I had never heard of. So, your normal places that you would launch from weren't available.
That's crazy. Wow. So with that said, Kerr, unlike many places, Lake Anna, there's basically 2 places you're launching a tournament from. Where was your tournament going out of?
We started the Bobcat store, Bobcat's Bait and Tackle. That's where we draw our numbers. We sit around, have a little pre-tournament meeting or whatever, say a prayer, and then they start pulling numbers, and we skedaddle out of there.
With that said then, so how far of a run did you guys have to make for strategy-wise? Are you running 2 hours all the way up the thing, or are you staying kind of local to maximize your time?
No, so Bobcats, we drew number 5 this week. So, I mean, we had a low number, so we knew we'd get out the parking lot pretty good.
That's good.
And always write down times and everything. So we left Bobcats out of the parking lot at 6:50. About 10 minutes later, we were at the boat ramp. We ended up putting in the small ramp at Occoneechee. At Occoneechee State Park, the main ramp was all log jammed. You couldn't put a boat in there. But we found out the day before that you could put in at the small single ramp that's further in the park.
Okay.
And that's where we decided to put in at on Saturday. When we put in Saturday, the ramp was iced. I mean, the lake was iced over right there. We were using the trailer to break the ice to get the boat in the water.
Good God.
And that's a strange sound when you're sitting in the boat and the boat's going in the water, breaking ice.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'd be terrified of messing up my hull. But the ice is probably not as bad as it was up where I am right now.
No, so it was real thin, so it wasn't. I didn't think it was going to mess up anything.
No.
So,
but being that Bugs was 8 feet high, or about 8.5 feet high, there was a whole lot of debris. And when I say debris, you're talking telephone pole-sized trees floating down the lake.
Oh my God. Dude, that's the crazy thing about that place. Is it? I've had a couple of people this year. I think it was when I was at the Raleigh Expo say like Kerr is the toilet bowl of the area because everything flushed goes down there, and it's true. I mean, it was the best analogy for it, and that is the one place where when you get a heavy rain or whatever, I would be nervous running that thing unless I kind of know what I'm doing. Because yeah, dude, there's so much crap that you could hit for sure.
We were weaving in and out pretty steady.
How far did you have to go? Was it a super long run?
No, it was 15, 20 minutes, but I mean, probably not even that, probably about 15 minutes. But we just went up above Clarksville. So, and it was a lot of debris up there.
Now, if people don't know, Kerr is like one of the biggest bodies of water we have in the area. And so the reason I asked that question is because it's over 40 or 50,000 acres. You could easily make a hell of a run. Did you guys like strategize that you wanted to stay close for time, or what was it when you have such a big body of water?
I think we stayed close because we knew there were decent fish there. We tried, one of the places we pre-fished was further down the lake. Where the water was a lot clearer, and our average there wasn't probably just over a pound. It wasn't great at all. So we decided to stick to the muddy water.
What do you mean by muddy?
Muddy.
Oh,
The muddier the better.
Really?
The first thing you
Chocolate
generally
milk.
look for is muddy water.
Chocolate milk. I mean, it's gross. You can't see, but maybe, I don't know, 6 inches, if that, into the water. So,
which is crazy because, you know, the old In Fisherman and Bassmaster magazine said the worst thing possible, and this is bass, is cold, muddy water. It's like, it's the death for fishing. But I guess for crappie, it's not the case. That's cool.
Well, that might be why I don't see too many bass on the screen.
Probably. Were you hoping for the water levels to stay the way they are? I mean, would that have really screwed everything up if the water started to drop?
I don't think so. I
don't think so either. Where we were fishing, I don't think it would have affected it too much. They might have pulled out just a little bit, but okay. I don't think it would have affected them much.
Okay. Yeah, because I know sometimes with that place, again, going back to the bass analogy, where if that thing drops out of the 300s and they're out of the bushes, it can completely derail your game plan going into the day. So you guys get to your first spot. How did things go? Was it a slow start to the morning? Was it pretty fast to get a rhythm?
Well, first thing we had to do was un-ice all the rods. Because every one of our rods had iced up on the way up. But we had our first fish in the boat at 7:48.
Oh, damn.
And that was a 220.
Oof. That's a hell of a start.
Yeah, that's what we said too. That's what we said too. And
I mean, I've got a running timeline if you want to know how the day went.
Yes, send it. That's what I want.
7:57, we caught a 178. 8:05. That's when we caught the big one. Our scale said 323. 8:21, we caught a 238.
Damn.
I didn't get the time on this next one, but I mean, it was a legal size fish. It was a 0.73. 8:48, we caught a 149. And at 8:57, we caught a 193, and we had our first 7 fish. 1374. Through our first 7, and that included a 0.73 in the mix.
So it's before 9:30 in the morning.
It's before 9 o'clock, and we had our first 7.
How are you feeling then around 9 o'clock? 7 fish, 13-ish pounds. Are you happy. Feeling?
We were feeling great then.
Yeah, we were feeling great because, I mean, we knew we could get rid of that 0.75 or 0.73, that 3/4 pound fish. We knew we could get rid of him. We just didn't know how much bigger we could go.
So 7 minutes later at 9:04, we caught a 236.
Damn.
So that brought us up to 1538 right there. And then we got into some smaller white crappie after that because we had started moving a little bit, not too much. Got into some smaller white crappie, didn't upgrade at all. And then we got into some stripers that were acting just like crappie on the screen, 2.5 pound stripers. They were suspended, not moving around, just suspending. So then we moved, maybe 100, 150 yards back, a little bit. And at 10:48, we got a 288 in the boat. So that brought us up to 1677. At 11:05, we had upgraded again. I didn't write down the weight of the fish, but it brought us up to 1690. And then at 12:13 is when we upgraded the last time, and our scales were at 1705. Damn. So we upgraded, about 3.31 pounds after we had our first 7.
And I'd like to add, when we caught that 323, or our scale said 323, the people that were fishing next to us right next to us, and probably a couple other people fishing further up, they heard Trip. He let out a great Mike Iaconelli, just woo! It was amazing. And then once we hit 15 pounds, I have to say, I started dancing on the bow.
Yeah.
Because we were talking with a couple other people, and we were saying 12 to 14 pounds would win it. And when we hit 15 pounds, like I said, I just started dancing, which is probably something you don't want to see.
No.
You mentioned a bunch of other people. I fish the Potomac a lot in my life, so my idea of a crowded thing is probably a little skewed. How many people were you fishing around?
There were, we saw a total of 5 boats in that same general area.
Okay.
All day. One came in there at the end, towards the end, but there had been 4 in that general area all day, scattered probably within a quarter mile.
Possibly a little further, maybe half mile. I mean,
yeah.
A couple of the guys were further back where it was a little shallower.
So from a strategy standpoint, what was the gamesmanship there? Did you have a spot within a spot that you didn't want to leave because someone would swoop in, so you had to play a little defense, or were you just following nomadic fish? Like, how would you work that while you were trying to get up to your 15 pounds?
A little bit of both.
Yeah, a little bit of both. We chased a bunch of them, and I mean, we know that people were fishing against, so we as long as we don't get like right up on them, they're not worried about us. I'm not worried about them. They're looking at different fish than we are. A couple times we kind of did maybe nudge over a little bit closer to one of the boats that came up in there. Just, kind of, hey, this is the spot we're working at. So, but, not too defensive, but we were covering a lot of water at that time because that was later in the day.
For a bass guy, when you mean covering water, are you just scoping and just searching for individual fish, or are you literally picking up a spinnerbait? Okay.
No, we're scoping. I don't even have my jig in the water half the time when I'm searching. I'm getting better at with the active target is zooming out to where I'm looking further out for that big mark on the active target. And then once we get closer, I'll zoom in. Downfall, sometimes it turns from 1 into 2. So that kind of throws it off. But, you get better at it if it's searching out further and finding the big dots and then trying to ease in on them to see what they actually are.
What do you usually set it at? Do you set it at 100 feet, 150?
No, with ours, I think I set it maybe 70 at the most. Okay. A lot of times I'm running it at about 50, 55. If we see something that we like and we want to go check it out a little closer, we'll get up to where I can get it into about 30 feet. And by the time I get to 30 feet, I can usually tell whether, it's something I want to try to put in the boat or something we just want to leave alone.
How do you guys do this as a team then when you're scoping together?
I do all the electronics and scoping and the long poles, trips back in the back, netting and live well maintenance, and obviously taking notes that I had no idea about. So, but yeah, we work together really good. So
yeah, the net kept freezing to the carpet.
Oh my God!
I end up having to, we've never had fish that size in the boat, and we're running out of a Tracker 190. And we normally keep the divider and the live well at the back, because on tournament day, I'll put, odd numbers 1, 3, 5, and 7 on the left side of the live well, 2, 4, 6, and 8 on the right side. That way it's, I'm only looking at 4 fish when I'm trying to call one out instead of trying to dig through 8, because we're allowed to keep 8 in the boat in case one dies. I had to take the back end of the boat apart to pull the divider out so the fish could fit in there. They were that long.
Wow.
It was huge.
And when we say covering water, the entire day we covered maybe the size of 4 football fields. That's it.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
That's in this tournament. That's in this tournament. We what is it? The November tournament. I mean, we covered probably half mile, 3/4 mile trying to find decent fish to catch, but because we knew because we pulled so many 2-pounders out of this general area, we just kept searching and going around wider and wider to see if we could find something else.
So let's just say there's I don't know, it's a dam stump, and that's spot center. When you say you keep going wider, do you just do like a ring and expand it, just checking the whole area around it? Is that kind of
a lot of time? Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. But this time of year, they're not really structure oriented. So we don't even look at the bottom half of the time because we're only looking at that top 12 to, 12 feet of the water column.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So in several of the fish were right under the surface, maybe a foot under the surface.
And what water temperature?
40 degrees.
44.
Damn, that is crazy. That's the cool thing about forward-facing sonar. not getting to the negative side of it, but if you asked me that before, how these fish behave, I would say you're a liar. But scope has really opened my eyes that this is not how they act. They're not locked on the bottom in the mud when it's this cold. Like, they can be very active in this cold water. That's crazy.
Well, I think another thing is because it's muddy water, and it was such a nice day the day before and that day. That muddy water heats up quicker. So that top layer is probably, I'm sure it's probably a degree or two cooler down further. So there was a couple of the big ones. I mean, they were right up a foot and a half under the surface, soaking up the sun.
And when he says warmer, I think it got up to 41 Saturday.
Balmy.
Yeah,
that was a balmy 41. I don't know if you've seen any of the pictures from Saturday, but I was wrapped up pretty good.
Yeah, I would be too, man. These conditions are nuts, but you warm up real quick when you're catching the kind of weight you guys are catching.
Yes, that's one thing that really kept us going.
But when you're dealing with these conditions and when the visibility is so bad, do you have to basically drop a dime on their nose? Like, what was their bite range when you made a cast?
Well, we don't cast. We are using our Crappie Nut 18-foot rods. Basically, we're just dropping the jig, get up close to them, drop the jig right down over top of them. I would start higher, and I'd say because the muddy water was so muddy, I would start with the jig about a foot above their head, and then slowly bring it down. And with the active target, with a crappie, you can tell. Usually, you can tell when they see it, and then if you have it above their head, you'll actually watch them turn and face almost upward like a missile. And when they really think they're going to get it, is you can actually watch their tail on the active target, and their tail will just get to fluttering, and they're standing still, and next thing you know, they're dodging up a foot just to nail that thing. So, but then there's some of the fish that, I mean, I had to drop it all the way down and pretty much bump them on their back to wake them up. So they just sit there, and I can't get them to pay attention to the jig, and I'll bump them on their back, and they'll move 3 or 4 feet, and then they'll stop again. And about that time, you drag the jig across them, and they usually look up.
When they look at it, again, going back to bass, the idea is you never want to drop it below them. You want to keep moving it away or up to try to get them to trigger to a bite. With the crappie, once you get them to their bodies to light up, you see the fins, you see that they're interested. Do you just freeze it and hold it there, or do you try to slowly pull it away? Okay.
No, freeze. That's why they call it dead sticking. You don't want it moving.
That's interesting.
I mean, there are a couple of them that I've they start easing up to it, and I'll pull it up a little further just to kind of keep it that 6 or 8 inch range in between the fish and the jig. And then sometimes they look at it and they turn around and go back down, or sometimes they come up and nail it like, you wouldn't believe.
I think you guys mentioned something earlier about you got into some smaller white crappie. I am an amateur at this. Were you specifically wanting black crappie? Were they bigger? Was it something species wise? You're like, oh, this is the wrong ones.
We had gotten into some hybrids, and that was the bigger fish were the hybrids.
Oh, cool.
I don't think we caught any true blacks.
I think we caught a couple.
Say again?
I think we caught a couple.
Okay, I don't.
But they're real.
They were smaller than we caught.
They were real light colored, so it was hard to tell.
Right. But the whites are generally longer, but they're not as thick as the blacks a lot of times. But the hybrids, you get the best of both worlds.
I'm going to have to Google that when we get off here and figure out what the hell a hybrid looks like between a black and a white. I think it'd just be white. Right?
Just come out fishing with us.
Yeah, I'll do that. That sounds way better when it's not like 2 degrees outside. So you guys got 15 pounds in the boat to end the story. At this point, do you guys just crack open the cold ones and just call it a day? Did you feel like you had it in the bag? Like, where were you?
I wanted more.
Yeah.
I wanted more. We got to that.
We weren't going to stop at 9 a.m.
Yeah, we got to that. We got to that 1705 on our scale, and we still had one fish that was just under. What is it? 193.
A 193.
We
actually had 2 of them that we ended up breaking out the cullen beam on those fish, and I mean you could see just a slight difference.
But I mean, we searched and searched. I wanted to upgrade that 193. I wanted all 7 fish over 2 pounds, and we just couldn't do it. So we got to a certain point, and what is it, like 215? Oh no, it was like 145, and we were
scales opened at 2.
We were worried about the fish. We didn't, because that big one had been in there so long. We didn't want it to die, so we just at 145 we packed up and got back to the scale. We were at the scale 45 minutes before anybody else.
That's confidence. That's real scary when you see a dude come in early because he's either having boat trouble or he's cashing a check.
Well, the lake record at that time was 1537 was the lake record at the time. And we had over 17 on our scale.
Did it stand? Happy. Did it stand? Is that the new lake record?
Yes. But there were 2 other bags that would have broken the old lake record also. There was a 1553 weighed in by Bobcat and Bobby Whitlow. And then Josh Morris and Ricky Poston weighed in 1722.
They scared
us.
Insane.
So 2 17-pound bags off a bug Saturday.
I mean, let's. I got some questions about that, but we'll finish up the tournament. So you guys weigh in. How nervous were you? Were you white knuckling it once you guys weighed through? You had your weight.
I was nervous, but I wasn't that nervous. Like I said, we had talked before, the night before, and everybody was saying 12 to 14 pounds. So I figured 17 probably pretty much had it in the bag. And then Josh and Ricky came in, and they said that their scale said, I think 1680 for his 7, but it ended up being 1722. As soon as they threw it on the scale and that 17 popped up, that's when I got nervous because it was going to be close. So,
well, you guys, I mean, hats off to you. New Bugs Island, aka Kerr state record, or really just like limit record for the lake, which is absolutely awesome. Great way to set the tone for the year, guys. I mean, this is absolutely amazing. I know you have at least 2 clubs you're fishing with the Bobcat Trail and then the Richmond Crappie Club. Is there other tournaments coming up that you're looking forward to?
We just got back from High Rock, North Carolina. We did National Crappie League tournament down there 3 weeks ago. Finished 4th in the amateur division down there.
How do the divisions work? What makes you an amateur?
It's 1 day instead of 2, and the rules are if you're a guide or if you made more than 5,000 the last 2 years on one of the major trails, you had to fish the semi-pro. Is what they call it for, the pro category. We didn't meet that criteria. First national tournament, fish amateur and see what it's about.
That's a neat way to do it, honestly.
Yeah. Get used to the scenery, get used to the lake. I mean, it gave us an extra day pre-fishing. It didn't really help, but it did.
But
and High Rock was 9 feet low.
Yes, because they have to.
I've seen pictures of that. Is it dam work? I didn't know that. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, dam work going on.
So does that mean they're going to, I wonder what that's going to have to do with BFLs and all that and other stuff there, because it's insane how, like, if you guys want to go to a lake and just take pictures and waypoint some stuff that is never going to be this low again, go check it out now. It's kind of insane with what they're doing there. I just love with the crappie, because I feel like with crappie fishing right now, a lot of the things that get set in motion in the crappie world transfer over to like the bass world. And when it comes to having these separate leagues within a league, it's kind of a great idea to where, like, okay, if you're a professional angler, that's fine. You're in your own league. And if you're a kid fresh out of high school, yeah, you're not going to be going up against them. We're going to separate that out. There's actually a neat little way to do it so it feels more competitive.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on High Rock just as a crappie place? Because I have never talked to anyone just about generically the crappie fishing there.
From what I understand, if the water was up normal, you would have there was a 5 fish limit there. You would have seen probably 14 pounds through 5 fish. I think they were averaging 12 pounds through 5 fish each day, and you couldn't get up river because it was so low.
That's crazy, man. That is nuts.
There was one creek down there that I wanted to get in, but I just didn't. We kind of had to weigh the risk reward to, do we want to mess up the boat if we hit something, or do we just want to play it safe and try to get what we could? So we played it safe. Costs a lot of money to fix a boat nowadays.
Yeah,
it does, especially if you're not one of these billionaire pros that gets a brand new boat handed to them. You lose a lower unit, man, you're kind of done for a while.
We saw 3 lower units get messed up down there.
I can freaking believe it.
Yeah,
man.
there was 2 of them that weekend, 2 or 3.
3 that weekend.
Yep.
Because to get back into Swearing Creek, going into the entrance area, you were running through about 1.5 to 2 feet of water with stumps under it.
Did that concentrate the fish then, I'm assuming?
It sounds like it. That's where the big bags came from.
Yeah.
Hey, that is absolutely nuts. Well, now that you got that hellhole out of the way, is there any events that you're looking forward to on the schedule this spring?
I'm looking
forward to Lake Anna.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to Bobcats next week. It's a makeup tournament.
Yeah, they're having an open next weekend. Looking forward to that.
Where at Anna or Kerr?
On Bugs.
On Bugs.
Yeah, hopefully the fish are in the same spot. I'm sure it's going to be crowded back there now, though.
Well, yeah, because they're following you guys because you're cracking records left and right. But Tripp, you said something interesting, like you're looking forward to Lake Anna. What is the crappie fishing like on Lake Anna? I know right now, like the bass fishing is blowing up out of this universe.
I haven't been in a while on Lake Anna, but the people that I've talked to, they're pulling in decent fish right now. I mean, you're not going to get, 17 pounds through 7 fish off of Lake Anna. You might get 14.
Dude, that's stupid though. God, that's some stupid weights. I mean, did you guys like have that numb feeling while it's happening? Like I've had that before when I've won a tournament where I felt like I was POVing myself, like this is actually happening.
I've been on cloud 9 all week.
Yeah, and even on the boat, I know I told Jack a couple times that I was going to throw up because of this.
Oh,
I'd never seen
yes.
weights like that come across our scale.
Dude, that's
Yeah,
so
I think
freaking cool.
the heaviest 7-fish bag that we've had was what 11 pounds. Or,
In a tournament was 1103, and that was Lake Anna last year.
yeah, that was Lake Anna last year, and that's the most we've ever had on our scale. And then we come
No,
up with
we
this,
did get 1150 in practice on Anna.
but then jumping to 17 pounds.
Yeah.
Shoot, just jumping to 13 and 15 pounds, it was like, man, I was ecstatic with 15 pounds.
Dude, that's cartoonish. I mean, it really is. And then, guys, of course, I mean, you'll be looking at the thumbnail of this video. We'll show you these absolute monsters, which kind of gets to another interesting thing. I had Jake on a couple weeks ago now, and just talking about chasing giants. And it's interesting because we have this conversation with bass, where will 16 pounds ever be broken in our lifetime? And more people than not say it'll never be broken. With the crappie records, like Jake and a lot of people think, like, actually, we could break the state record in our lifetime. Do you think that's doable?
For crappie, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. A lot more catch and release. You get a lot of these tournaments like Bobcats. We fish Bobcats, and nearly every fish that comes into the scale goes in a bucket, and they take it down to the thing, put it right back in the water. So, I mean, in the tournament at Bobcats, there's some decent fish coming in. Josh and Ricky, they brought 2 3-pounders in, and somebody was telling them the other day, you have 2 3-pounders and you're still in second place. It's like, that's crazy. That's insane. But as far as weights, there's gonna be some records broken, and I wouldn't doubt you'll see it in the next year or two.
Now I gotta actually, because I don't have this off the top of my head. So state record crappie black crappie is 4 pounds. Is that right? Oh my Jesus God, that is massive.
And there's no white crappie record yet, is there?
Yeah, you know what? This is power of the internet. I can actually share my screen. It doesn't look like it. We got 2 black crappies. We got 1994, which I don't know if you can take that. That's 4 pounds 10 ounces. Black crappie number 2 is at Lake Connor, and that's 14. And I'm looking for white. I don't see white bat. Oh, here we go. No entry to date. Minimum weight to qualify is 3 pounds. Interesting. Okay. Huh. How the hell has there not been a white crappie caught that's 3 pounds plus?
Oh, well, we'll start searching.
Yeah, that's crazy that hasn't been documented yet. I thought that would be a slam dunk to get something like that. Wow.
Jake knows where it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know Jake knows exactly where that white lives.
Can you catch a state record crappie in tidal water? Or is it kind of like bass, they just don't get as big?
I don't think they get as big down on tidal.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah, I was just always curious about that because I didn't know like how that would work in crappie world. I know bass, that's the wives' tale. Clearly, it's getting blown up because the James is like having 8 freaking pounders caught out of it. But I haven't heard of a big crappie, and I think it's going to be one of those smaller reservoirs, honestly, because it's like the Kerr's blowing that out of the water. Honestly,
I think I've seen somebody a while back. Was it last year or so? They caught a 260 or something out of the James. So I mean they'll get big. They still get big, but I don't think you're gonna see 3.5, 4 pounders, coming out of the James.
So when you're at the James, it's more of a numbers game. You're calling ounces versus hunting that one big dog. Okay, interesting. Yep. That's a different strategy. That's interesting.
Yeah, we're on Kerr. We were on Kerr. We're
looking for hubcaps.
We're looking for hubcaps. That's what he says all the time. Look for Nadine.
So my Patreon supporters wanted a couple questions they had for you when I told them I was doing this pre-recording was, are you guys in Bobcat tournaments allowed to use live bait? What are the restrictions on the baits and stuff that you guys use for this?
Yeah, live or artificial, 2 baits per line. So you can have, run double jigs or double minnows. we were tipping jigs with minnows all day. Just to give it a little bit bigger profile. That way, because the water was that muddy, that way they could see it a little better.
That's really cool. I didn't know that. What weights are you guys using on your jigs? Are you going super light, or are you going with the weight a little bit heavier to get it down quicker and keep it in the zone?
We were running a 1/2 ounce tungsten weight with 2 bobber stops above it and below it. And then, we could move that up and down the line to a 16th ounce hair jig.
16th ounce and a half ounce. Damn, dude. That's like a punching weight. Good Lord. Wow.
I like the heavy weight.
You're chasing the fish, so you move the weight closer to the jig. That way you're not, the jig's not trailing behind it. You can keep that 1/2 ounce weight in front of his nose, and it's going to keep the jig there. Plus, that's going to absorb a lot of the bounce and everything that you might have in the rod. That'll absorb that and help keep the bait even more still.
What does it feel like when a paper mouth hits a jig when you have a 1 ounce bullet in front of it? Like, is it just load up more? Like, what the hell does it feel like?
It just feels like a good thump. I mean, you're always chasing the thump with crappie. And as far as paper mouth, I don't know what you're talking about paper mouth, because every jig that he yells at me about is usually right in the roof of their mouth. There's no getting in the lips. It's usually cranked down in the roof of their mouth.
Oh, that is cool. That is crazy. Because you're just loading up then, right? With what your setup is. It's not really a hook set.
Yeah, that 18-foot rod, when he hits it and it gets a little bit of weight on it, that 18-foot, it gives it a lot of a lot of spring tension when you set the hook, and it bows them rods right over, especially that 3-pounder. That really bowed the rod over. Trip said when we hooked a 3-pounder, he said all I heard was "ugh" come out of my lips. He said because it was like hooking into a stump.
Did you know what you had when you set the hook and leaned into it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of times when you set the hook with the 18-foot, you got that flex, and he'll hit it, and all of a sudden you'll see the fish on the screen, come up 2 or 3 or 4 feet because you're setting the hook into him. And when I hooked that 3-pounder and he only moved like inches, and just the way the rod acted, I was like, oh, this feels good. And no sooner you got to the top of water, I'm like, that is the biggest fish I've ever put a hook in, as far as crappie.
Did time slow down?
Oh,
until he got the net unfrozen.
Oh, it was. We've had a few of them come off, and man, it was like it took 2 or 3 minutes to get that net under it, or what it seemed. Trip's pretty quick on the net. He'll get it under it real quick. But it seemed like it was about 2 minutes, because it was like, oh my gosh, this thing's it better not come off. And it didn't. So
I've caught fish midair when they spit the hook in the net.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's scary.
A net man. That's a net man right there. He played lacrosse when he was younger. Guys, thank you so much. For coming on. I really appreciate it. Please, are there any sponsors we can give a shout out to? Anything like that?
Yes. We got Propeller Dynamics as our main sponsor. They're down in Disputana, do all the boat work. Come spring or June, they're going to have ours in there and get it tuned up. We got Crappie Nut rods right here on our chest. They supply us with the 18-foot rods that, they work wonderfully.
Our reels, our nets,
they have
all of our hand pour plastics.
Yeah, they have the rods itself are just super strong. And
with a very fast tip.
They're sensitive, but they're really strong. Like I could have probably, just slung that 3-pounder up there, but we were looking for the net. Other than that, we got Ace Glass, company that I work for. He sponsors us, and a friend of mine that I went to school with, Dooleys Electrical.
Trippy Stix Jigs.
Trippy Stix Jigs.
Haymaker Auto Repair, and Allen Mechanical.
Yeah, Trippy Stix makes our hand-tied jigs for us, which worked awesome this past weekend.
Right on, guys. That's so cool. Go check them out, everyone. And then I'll put a link in the episode description to everything we talked about today, including the Bobcat Trail and then the Richmond Crappie Club as well. So you can go check them out if you have any questions about that, guys. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on tonight, guys.
There's one more I was going to mention. Sorry, there's one more I was going to mention is I run the Virginia Sportsmen outdoors hunting and fishing group on Facebook. Come on over and join that. We'd love to have more people sharing their experiences out in the outdoors, camping, hunting, hiking, everything.
Outdoor Facebook page. And guys, I'm making a note right there for my notes. I'll put a link in the episode description to that Facebook too. So if you guys go in the episode description, you can click on that and you can join the group as well, just to make sure we get them a few more members. And then of course, guys, if you'd like to go check me out on Patreon, we only got 16 membership spots left for 2025 until I shut that down for the rest of the year. Rates will go up a little bit more in 2026, but yeah, we have 5 tournaments every single year. I pay out really good because I just use all the YouTube money to kind of give back to all you guys. Go check us out there, and we'll see you next time on Fishing the DMV. Bye. You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jigs Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.